What's a fancy word for inflation? Good evening, folks, and welcome back to another episode of Silver Dad Knows. Remember, always live with no edits. If this is your first time here, hit that subscribe button now, as you're going to love what I'm about to say. So, first and foremost, I would generally show a silver round or a silver ounce before I show your type of collectible, commemorative silver. But I do want to already discuss this 1964 Kennedy half dollar. And of course, these were made in honor of our slain president, John F. Kennedy. This was the most eagerly awaited coin ever produced by the United States Mint. The first pieces were issued March 24th, 1964, at the very height of the frenzied coin market of the early 1960s. However, very few of these coins actually had the chance to become worn, as collectors and speculators around the world hoarded all they could get. In an effort to keep the 1964 silver coins from being hoarded, Congress authorized that date to be frozen until further notice. So this is a Philadelphia mint. They coined 87 million examples of the 1964 Kennedy half dollar during that year, and another 144 million the following year, and a final 41 million during 1966. But it was all in vain, as few of these coins remained in circulation for more than a month or two. Though millions of pieces survive in mint state today, most are quite heavily marked from years of being traded in bag quantities. So of course, the piece you're seeing right now, it is in very, very good condition, but of course, there's ones that are just in exceptional, pristine. But generally, all the pieces I normally get them in very, very good condition, like the piece you're seeing right here, front and the back. And I hold on to this one, especially just because I like how this one was framed. They did very well. Whoever I bought it from, I forgot who I bought it from, but yeah, this one really stands out because I've had a bunch of these 1964s, and I'll sell them here and there. I want to say it's fair to say that I sell Kennedy half dollars very frequently, very, very, very frequently. Real quick, guys, before I continue, I want to give a quick shout out, and this is to Nick Fortier, and there's a comment from earlier today. As an honest Canadian entrepreneur carpenter, I'm practically an outlaw in my country. I've been self-employed since 2010. I'm 41 and basically can't buy a house for my family. This makes me feel useless. They expect me and others in my position to build more houses for everyone else. Well, the carrot has rotted off the string. Seriously considering moving to America. It's effed because my wife is native, and on my dad's side, we've been in Canada for almost 400 years when there was around 3,000 people living here. It's all by design. I have little faith left. Things will improve here. Best of luck, all. Wow, great comment from Nick Fortier. Yes, he's a loyal subscriber of mine, lives in Canada, and I had a very good buddy that I used to live with in Los Angeles. I know that he lives in Canada, and I mean, it's just night and day, the way of life. Of course, Canada is a beautiful, beautiful place if you enjoy nature, but the laws are much different than the laws here in Texas, for example. I want to say Texas is one of the freest states here in the U.S., arguably the freest state, and I'm so proud to be a Texan, but drastically different from Canada. If you guys haven't noticed, major media outlets are no longer the gatekeepers. We have plenty of independent channels all over, especially on YouTube, who are providing more accurate, less biased news and data. It's not that we're approaching double-digit inflation. We're already there, and we've been there. If the government was still reporting inflation properly, using the same methodology to calculate CPI, the month after month numbers that we recently got would be well over 15%. The entire monetary system is being manipulated, which is precisely why we're living with double-digit inflation. We're not being told that, though. That's the issue. And unfortunately, so many Americans today, they go based off whatever CNN's telling them, whatever Fox News is telling them, whatever MSNBC is telling them, whatever somebody else is telling them is my point. Most Americans don't think for themselves anymore. They don't know their history. They're not financially literate. So, I mean, whatever CNN says, whatever NBC says, and that's not a good way to think, because the reality is the entire monetary system, it's bogus. Inflation was deliberately created by the Bank of England and the Federal Reserve. Quantitative easing is simply a fancy word for inflation. Printing money and buying government bonds, that's inflation. Expansion of the money supply and increasing prices are simply a result of inflation. That's why our government wants to change the definition of inflation to an increase of prices so they can continue to confuse the public as to the source of inflation. If the public knew that inflation was an expansion of the money supply, then they would know exactly who's controlling the money supply. If they think inflation is rising prices, then the government can and will blame those raising prices, like quote unquote greedy businessmen, quote unquote the ultra rich, quote unquote China, or quote unquote Vladimir Putin. Bingo, it's the best person to blame. Our government will always point fingers at everyone else rather than take responsibility for their actions. The government created inflation and is destroying our buying power in real time. That's why the majority of my money is being poured into precious metals, real estate, and cryptocurrency. Why the hell would I save paper that they just keep printing and whose buying power weakens by the second? Literally by the second. A soft landing was never going to be the solution. No, folks, this will be a plane crash. And then people are saying we're in a quiet depression. Are you serious? There's nothing quiet about rents skyrocketing, insurance skyrocketing, food, utilities, mortgages, rates, everything has increased, yet wages have hardly moved. There's nothing quiet with what's going on. It's horrific what's taking place, but I laugh when I see these titles, A Quiet Depression. If this is quiet, then I have it completely backwards. But then again, we're already living in a backwards society. Over 100 million Americans are currently at risk of losing their homes over the next decade. Corporations and insurance companies will be acquiring everything. So be prepared, stack up, be responsible. Without a question, one of the most popular and beloved coin collections from the Perth Mint, which I'm always mentioning the Perth Mint, is the Australian kangaroo. This series is one of the oldest and most diverse, with the gold bullion coins in the series available since 1986, when the program was known as the Gold Nugget. Today, 2023, 1 ounce Australian silver kangaroo coins are available at bargain prices. Currently, I'm seeing them as low as $37 with free shipping. So that's splendid. So we go to the verse, and we have Queen Elizabeth II. Her Majesty is shown here in right profile relief wearing the George IV state crown. This portrait comes from Jody Clark, and following Her Majesty's death in September of 2022, this is the last image of the Queen to grace the coins in this series. So that's very interesting. That's very unique. Of course, you go to the reverse, and you have the historic image of the kangaroo. This left profile relief shows a leaping kangaroo set against a stylized backdrop of sun rays. The inspiration for this design was Stuart Devlin's historic Australian copper penny design of a leaping kangaroo. Yep. Really, really like these pieces. And I would highly recommend these Australian kangaroos. I feel like they're very, very underrated. And man, I was on eBay today and the prices are going up on everything galore. It's like, whoa. It is getting so serious now in the precious metals market. And people are going to look back and, oh my gosh, well, why weren't you buying when you had the opportunity? Because you're going to get to the point where you're not going to be able to afford it. You can still afford it right now. You will thank yourself later, I assure you. But folks, This was Silver Dad Knows. Thank you so much for joining us for another evening. God bless your households. God bless you. And you already know what I'm going to say. God bless America.